There we go. That's exciting. I'm excited. We are already live on Facebook and looking forward to some people joining us very soon. And now we're about to go live on Instagram. We are live everywhere. How fun is this?
That's
Very
awesome.
exciting. I am delighted to be talking today with my pal, Peggy Doviak, who is just the finance queen and just love this woman to pieces. I'm hoping, I always like to see if somebody has shows up before I start talking. I'm sure someone will any moment. So we'll give you 1 second to come in. For those of you as you come in, you know the drill. Those of you who join us regularly, let us know where you're hailing from and what state has joined us. That will be fun to see. And even if it turns out being just us, we are going to have such a great conversation.
We're going to have a great time.
I'm just so excited about this. It's going to be really fun. So we'll go ahead and start. I know we're live. There we go. There's our first guest. Hey, Kathy, you're the first one. Welcome from Idaho. Now we know we can make it official. We've got a body here. We can officially start the party. So I know for many people who will be joining us today, Peggy needs no introduction because she has helped us so many times with financial advice. And this is going to be a little bit of a different type of financial advice this time around. And I'm very excited. Hey, Cindy, darling, glad you could join us. Hi, Pam. This is going to be very fun. Before we get started, by the way, always be glad that you make it to join us live because those who are present may win something. I'm going to be giving away a copy of my book, Living Large on a Small Budget. And Peggy, I believe you're doing a giveaway of one of your books too.
I am.
Correct?
I'm going to give away a copy of my latest personal finance book, which is 52 Weeks to Fearless, What Creatives Need to Know About Money.
That is on my buy list for the new year. By the time we talk again, I will have read it because I need this. I need this book. Oh my gosh. Hi, everybody who's coming in now. I'm glad you could join us for this very special kick off the new year about our finances. And before we get into a little bit more with Peggy and about Peggy, because some of you may not know her history and how she got into the career she got into, which I think is fascinating. But let me, did you know, here are some things about money you might not know. Did you know that more people fantasize about money than sex? How interesting is that? And money, and many of you probably do know this, money is the leading cause of disagreements in marriage. Oh, big surprise there, not. Concern over money is the biggest stress inducer in the lives of Americans. How interesting is that? I believe that too. Hi, all of our newcomers. Glad you could join us. And this is interesting too. The Bible has more than 800 scripture verses that talk about money. Obviously, how we relate to the things that we're given, the money we have, is very important in how we live our lives. And I feel like money is a great revealer of character. And we learn a lot of things about ourselves in how we handle our money. Would you agree with that, Peggy?
Oh, absolutely. And we learn a lot about other people too.
Oh boy, isn't that the truth? So this is interesting, you guys. So Peggy is a certified financial planner. That means she's totally overqualified to do everything that she does and to help people manage their money. And you know, guys, I mean, she might, who knows, she might take you on as a client if you beg and plead. I don't know. But anyway, this is so interesting how you got into this. So Peggy, because originally you guys, Peggy actually got her degree in writing. She's got an MFA in creative writing, correct?
Yeah, I've got a master's in creative writing. I do.
Master's in creative writing, for heaven's sakes. And so here she is doing, I can't believe both sides of your brain work. That's so impressive. But so tell us how you jumped. Oh, wait, shoot. Before we go there, I do have to say, for those of you who don't know, Nancy is not only now published with her financial help books, she also has mystery novels out now. So if you're into the cozy mysteries, shoot out the names of your titles so that people
Yes, so the two cozy mysteries that are published are You Can't Cheat Death and You Can't Bury Death. It's a series set in Oklahoma with a financial planner as the heroine, no surprise there, who solves mysteries with the help of her horse. But the horse only does real horse things, like the horse doesn't talk or anything. But
no
they're
Mr.
really
Ed.
super fun. They're fun books. I'm hoping the third one of those comes out very, very late this year.
Oh my gosh. Well, so there are two books if you're not wanting to get into the deep and hard stuff about money and you want to escape, she's got that covered too. But so tell us how you wound going from, okay, I've got this writing degree to, okay, now I'm going to help people manage their money. How did that happen?
So I also have some background in education, and I was a corporate trainer, and it was the dot-com bubble, and my mom retired and went to a stockbroker who I had been using, and he put all of her money in high-tech single stocks. This is
Oh,
March of 2000. And so for younger people who are listening, that's just about the market high in the dot-com bubble, which immediately led to the dot-com crash. And I would call the broker and say, what do we do? And he said, buy more. It's like, you have all her money. What's she supposed to do? And met a friend of my husband's who traded for a living. And it's like, there's something going wrong here in the market. And I don't understand any of this. So I
mm,
started reading, and then I realized the guy had just put her into stocks he was supposed to sell that day.
ugh.
And I might have gotten so mad that with 3 degrees in other things, I went into finance. So
So basically to protect your mom because you
to
saw what
protect
was
my mom,
happening.
I was so angry. I was just so very, very angry. And I didn't want what had happened to mom to happen to anybody else. And I thought, I may not know a lot yet about this, but at least I won't do this to other people. And so I've since gone on and I've earned my certified financial planner designation. Then just for fun, I got a master's in financial analysis, which is
Oh my.
how stuff values. But since I make investment decisions, I wanted to be able to answer a question that my client would have. I'm a bit of a overeducated person, I'm afraid.
I love this though. So, that's such a good example, you guys, because it's easy to just kind of sit back and let our lives sort of happen to us instead of us running them. And especially when it comes to your finances. The bottom line is we do need to be looking out for ourselves. You can't just blindly follow along.
And it's scary because if you are over the age of at least 40, you never had a class in this.
No.
Lots of really smart people, they have absolutely no idea how to do any of this because we weren't trained in how to do it. Well, you're
Yes.
pretty good with money. I've read your book. So
Well, but that's
it's
because I'm married to a finance, he's like you, he's a finance guru kind of guy. But for those of us who are creatives, I mean, I just don't even like, what was I listening to something the other day? And I remember my brain saying, we're done. We don't do this. We don't want to listen to this. What are you doing, Sheila? We don't listen. And it's just like for the longest time, I mean, I did. This is interesting, you guys, because I am a creative. Sometimes also this happens with sports figures, people who and actors and actresses. This is
Mhm.
my arena. This is my area where I shine, and I'm going to
Yeah.
trust somebody else to manage that.
Uh-huh.
And it's just not the best idea. You still have to be riding herd and watching and being a little bit responsible for what happens to yourself, and so years ago I finally thought I didn't understand how compound interest was figured. I could not wrap my mind around it. And I still remember the day I decided, some friends and I decided we got to get a little smarter here. And so we started reading books about money, and we'd meet together and try to get smart. We had a guy, we became good friends, came over and told us about stock investing and just tried to learn a little bit so I wouldn't be quite so ignorant. And I still remember the day I was reading a Susie Ormond book of some sort, and she was showing how this figured. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get it. The light bulb
Right.
finally went on,
Right.
but I had to stand in that room tugging on the light switch for a long
Sure.
time before the light switch came on. And sometimes we have to do that, right? If you're not
Because
wired.
it's hard, right?
Yeah.
It's just very hard, and it's overwhelming. It's why I like little bite-sized chapters in the book. And while we're talking about things, if you don't like to read finance books, maybe you'd like to listen to it. I just put out,
Yes.
as of January 1st, 2026, I decided it was the great day to publish a finance audiobook. So 52 Weeks to Fearless, the creative's book, is now out on audiobook. So if you've got to commute somewhere and you don't have anything else to do, the chapters are short and you could listen to it and probably get one done on your way to work.
So where did they find that? Like an Audible or something?
It is on Spotify, it
Oh,
is
okay.
on Apple, it is right now everywhere but Audible. But the
Oh,
number one audiobook platform right now is in fact Spotify.
oh, I love Spotify. I listen to podcasts there all the time.
Yeah.
That's very good. That's very cool. So welcome to those of you who've come in late. I did mention earlier, we will be giving away some goodies. Thanks for joining us and hanging in there. As you comment and hang in, we will be making note. And Gerhard at some point will be picking 2 winners to receive goodies. And hi, especially to our Instagram people who are with us. Appreciate you being here. I see we've got one of our buddies from Canada, one of our Canadian neighbors. So thanks for taking time and joining us. So one of the things I was excited about this, because sometimes we never get beyond the budget part. And I wanted this time to dig a little deeper into what is behind some of the financial decisions that we make. And so I have this theory that I'm running by Peggy, and she's going to ring in, that we all have certain financial Achilles heels. We all have certain areas of the way we think that makes us kind of vulnerable to falling into deep doo-doo. And so I'm going to run these by Peggy, and we're going to talk about them one at a time. I have 4 of them, and we try not to keep you here all night. I could really talk all night on this because it's fascinating to me, but I promise we won't keep you forever. But number 1, and I think this happens with a lot of us, especially us as women or as parents, guilt spending, going overboard at Christmas, pledging money that you don't really have at a fundraiser because there's everybody and they're else all doing it, or the office collecting for whatever, and you don't have the money, or you really don't want to, but oh my gosh, I'd better. So Peggy, what do you think about that? Do you think that's a legitimate?
I'm going to add one more thing to that list that you have, and that is parents in a divorce.
Oh,
and
yes.
it could be moms. A lot of times it's moms because dads tend to earn more and it tends not to be as much of an issue. But guilt giving to the kids because maybe the world's blown up that year. Maybe you're trying, maybe this other spouse is giving really nice stuff, and then you feel like you need to keep up. And yeah, all of that can get you into a lot of trouble. It can get you into trouble when you go, I hate fundraisers where everybody's bidding on auctions and it's like a $10,000 bid. And it's like, no, I am not. I'm
It's going for a
absolutely
good
not.
cause.
I know it's for a good cause, but it's not a good cause for me.
I love that. Yes.
So what I would encourage people to do is, make the list. Certainly, I'm a big fan of charitable giving. In fact, when I go holiday shopping, I have $1 bills that I take with me for the Salvation Army guys, just because I hate to pass the red things. However, I've given them 20s before because I didn't have ones. And it was like, okay, don't do that. So I actually plan for my holiday shopping so I can be generous without spending a whole ton of money at the same time. It's really important. You've got to take care of yourself in addition to taking care of the plethora of good causes that there are out there.
And
And
yes,
it's
and there are a lot.
okay for your kids to know that you can't afford things. And, I understand that, sometimes Santa Claus winds up being on a budget too. And that can be harder to explain, but you can just say, hey, Santa had a bit of a tough year this year, and he isn't going to be able to bring necessarily everything on the list that you gave him.
Because the
And
elves were on strike for higher wages. So,
that's right.
there you go.
Yeah, but yeah, maybe Santa's on strike too. But it doesn't hurt anything for your kids to know how expensive things are and how long you've had to work to earn it. Or if you give them an allowance, how long it would take them to save that much money via their allowance. You need to bring it down to numbers they can relate to. And even relatively young kids can do that. If the numbers are small enough, it means something.
Oh, I love that. And this is interesting because Nicole rings in and says, I have to say no a lot, and it's hard and sometimes doesn't feel
Very hard.
good. And you're right about that. And I think some of the things we need to focus on. And let me tell you, when we were first married, we had so many lean years, and our kids never went without, but I always felt like, oh, I just didn't do enough. And I remember one year we had a little bit more, and the kids were grown or older. I went berserko, and I thought later, well, that was kind of stupid because did it make Christmas any more fun? No, it didn't. And I think for us as parents, it's really important to remind yourself, I am a good parent, or I am a good daughter, I'm a good sibling, whatever, fill in the blank there. I am a good fill in the blank. And also, sometimes kids remember memories more than stuff. And if we can be doing things with those we love to make memories. This year we had so
Okay.
much fun. We did a cookie baking extravaganza with my daughter and granddaughter and in-laws and all kinds of people. That was really fun. And then a bunch of us went to see It's a Wonderful Life, which was showing at an old theater that had been refurbished.
Oh,
And it didn't
fun.
cost a lot, but it was this huge memory.
Right. Right.
And so if and playing games on Christmas Day or whatever, I think it's, and same with birthdays, you pick one super thing that you're going to do that will make a member. And let's see, yeah, Debbie says kids do not need so much stuff. They need to know they are loved. Yeah, and sometimes we do stuff as a substitute for love, and it comes back to guilt, right, Peggy? We feel guilt.
It
I'm not
is,
spending enough
and
time
it's a
with the
substitute
kids.
for time.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just very, very hard. No, I completely agree with all of that,
Yeah,
Sheila.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's it. Keep that in mind, guys. If the guilt spending happens to be your Achilles heel, you have our permission to lose the guilt.
Yes.
Judge Sheila, where's my gavel? I
Yes.
declare you not guilty. You're good, and just focus on the things that we can control, because you feel a lot more guilty if you ruin yourself financially, or you put your family in a bind, or you're
Oh,
struggling to
yeah.
pay those bills after whatever holiday you were celebrating. So, okay, so that's Achilles heel number one. Achilles heel number two, retail therapy, using things to fill an emotional or spiritual void. I'd be happy if only I had. I'm feeling a little down. I think I'll just feel, and it has been proven that you get this little, I forget what chemical it releases, but you do get a little buzz when you buy
Dopamine.
something, right? Is it
Dopamine.
dopamine?
Uh-huh. Or is
So
it
what do you think about
endorphins?
that, Peggy?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I had a client a number of years ago, and she started out, she had some credit card debt. She got it all paid off. And then periodically the debt would come back. And I began to notice a parallel between when she was having fights with her boyfriend and when she was racking up credit card debt.
Mhm.
And so I asked her one day, I said, "You do know every time you have a fight with the guy, that you wind up in credit card debt." She's like, "Oh my
Mm.
God, no, I never thought about it." So, there's a lot of fixes for that. One of my favorite fixes is, and it's harder on Amazon or wherever you like to order online, but it's still possible. If I don't need it and I wasn't going to the store for it, I leave without it. If 3 days
Oh.
later I still can't live without it, I can go back to the store. And if it's on Amazon, I have to close out and I can't save it to my favorites. I can't put it on my list. I have to actually remember it 3 days later, and if I still want it at that point and I can afford it, I mean, don't go crazy with this, don't buy a car, but you still can, and so what it does is you've broken that pattern, you've broken that cycle because you're mad, right? And so we make jokes about it. It's retail therapy, but
Mhm.
you can get yourself in a huge jam with it, and you don't want to do that. The other thing you can do that'll really help if you tend to do like impulse spending is put a couple of blank lines on your shopping list and put the amount of money that you know you could afford to spend
Oh, I
beside
like
those
that.
blank
I
lines.
like that.
Now, if you go, so I'm a sucker for anything seasonal. So if I walk in and they have Valentine Oreo cookies, I'm going to buy them because, there's nothing better, and maybe a pair of socks. But the problem is, and we're sort of sneaking into budget, but I'm going to keep it really short. The minute you break your budget, you get worse. So by giving yourself the permission for the retail therapy, you can hold it in check. Doing well with your money is kind of like being on Weight Watchers or any of those other lifestyle choice things. So, what you're doing, you've got to be able to live on it, which means you are going to buy things again. It's not like you can go the rest of your life and
Yeah.
never make a purchase just for yourself. So, you want to control it so it doesn't get out of hand.
Well, what about FOMO, fear of missing out? It might not be there when I come back.
You'll live. Um,
Are you sure?
That's so hard. And I have so many friends with FOMO. And the truth is, if you don't remember it in 3 days, you're really not that afraid of missing out. It's just captured your fancy at the moment.
Yeah.
And if you really, really, really want it, I promise you'll remember it. And because we just see things like, oh, that'd be nice. And especially online, it is so easy to hit
Yeah.
click. And that's the biggest place that I have to make myself walk away and then walk back later.
I love that. Well, I did miss out. This was years ago though, and I guess my feet have survived somehow. But I still remember this and we were so broke. And there were these cute loafers that had keyboards on the top of them. Well, I'm a musician.
Oh,
And I'm like, I wanted those so badly, and I did resist. But then I thought, I'm gonna get those, and I went back, and they were gone. So I don't know. Maybe
I'm
that might have been a
sorry.
message from on high, going, "Your feet don't need these," and I took away the temptation. I don't know.
I mean, and it doesn't mean I think the reason that people are like, "Oh my goodness, she's talking about finance," is I think there's an awful lot of judgment out there. I mean, if you've got the money and you want the keyboard sneakers, buy them. But try to maybe then not buy the next thing you think you can't live without to kind of try to make up for it.
Well, and if you've got the money, that is the secret. And if we're wise with our money, then you will have a little bit of money to spend on things,
That's right.
But okay, we've got a few comments. I'll just share. Somebody, I don't know if I lost track of who that was, but somebody had said, oh, here it is. This was Anne, said, my adult children only remember a couple of Christmases growing up, but have a lot of memories of our camping adventures. So how cool is that? And
That's
Sonia
fabulous.
shared, my son made us drinking glasses out of coffee jars one year. How that is so clever. Didn't spend a lot, but it was the thought, he put in the effort. And I love that. Oh yeah, and Nicole says I remember going to the lake with all my cousins. That's very cool. And Diane, I love this. She says I learned the difference between buying what I want and buying only what I absolutely need. I mean, that is the bottom. It's so important to differentiate between wants and needs,
And you
because
just
especially
really
on a
kind of
budget.
have to know the difference,
Yeah.
even if you go ahead and buy the want. You still need to understand you bought a want, you didn't buy a need.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and so thoughts for, okay, I love what your suggestions are. Just walk away. And I've done that, especially when you're places where they're trying to pressure you right then to buy,
Yeah.
in situations like the whatever, the craft fair, the this, the that, and I always say, I'm going to walk and think, and I walk and think. And it's interesting. I don't have to go that many steps before I think, you know what, I really don't need that. And I can spend my money on something better, and again, it's that distancing yourself, right?
It is
Distance
that
yourself from the
distancing, and the
temptation.
salespeople know that the minute you walk away, you're not likely to walk back.
Yeah,
That's why they press you so hard to make the decision on the spot.
very interesting. So, other than if you're feeling a little down, maybe don't do something else. Take a hike, literally. Go for a walk, have
Yes.
some friends over, do some potluck entertaining, something that will take your mind off. Gee, I'd sure like to go buy, blah blah blah. Because it really does. We sometimes we feel a little down. I just think if I buy this one thing, I'll just feel so much better. And that feeling usually doesn't last that long, And the other thing I realized too, as I began to shift my thinking into saving money, I realized I can get just as excited by watching my savings account grow as
Sure.
I can by depleting it. So maybe
Sure.
sometimes we just need to do an emotional shift, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So, and this brings us to, this ties right in with this. This is I have to admit, a big Achilles heel for me, rationalizing spending. I should have been a lawyer. I can just rationalize anything. It's like, why I should have this. And just earlier, today I finally let go. Doggone, I wanted to do this fun promotional giveaway for anybody who pre-orders Love on the Shelf. And I had this cool thing I was going to do. And oh my gosh, and even had a game around it. Oh, it was gonna be awesome. And then I took a realistic look at what this was going to cost me. It was like, Sheila, but it would be so good for the business. I don't know that I'd make any more book sales from doing this. I just thought it would be so cool, and I wanted to do it really badly. Fortunately, reality set in, and I am backing away because you can only do so much when you're on a budget. Even writers are on budgets, guys. And but that was hard because again, I had all the reasons why I should spend this money. The only reason I was not taking into account was that I didn't have enough money. Minor detail.
There's that.
So anyway, but what have you encountered that with any of your clients or your friends of rationalizing, here's why I should spend this money?
Oh, all the time. Absolutely all the time. And
Mm.
the thing is, sometimes the rationalization isn't wrong, but the question becomes, why are you thinking you need to, what is it that just kept you from doing it in the first place? There was something about it that had your attention enough that you started rationalizing. And I think it's really, really important. We aren't very honest about our money with anybody. We're a culture that will talk about absolutely everything that perhaps we shouldn't be talking about, but we will. But when it comes to money, there is a lot of posturing and a lot of I can. And even in writing, there is a lot of, oh, well, look, this author did this and this author did that, and so I should be doing this or that. I
Yeah.
think it's actually a little worse in finance. I said when you're in finance, it's like you're in the boat world. Just add a zero to everything you're doing because what should cost 100 costs 1,000. And
Mm.
there's lots of other people there happy to help you rationalize your spending. I had that happen when somebody called me and said, you should advertise your financial firm at the YMCA. I've been in business less than a year. I
Mm.
didn't know what I was doing. I was not an entrepreneur, remember? I was a teacher and a writer, and that was it. And so they said, there's doctors and lawyers at the YMCA. And so you need to help sponsor this because you'll get all these clients because they're going to come all the time. And it wasn't an enormous amount of money, but it was a lot for me at the time. So here we go, and here's my flyers, and here we are. And not one person had gone to the YMCA to find a financial planner.
And they're usually
So
at private spas. I mean, doctors and
right,
lawyers.
right, right. Well, but I
Yeah.
mean, even at the spa, you want the mani and the pedi and the facial. You don't want a financial planner. So that when OU football, University of Oklahoma, I live in Norman, called a few years later and wanted me to advertise in the program, he said there's 50,000 people who come to every game. And I said, how many of them are looking for a financial planner on a Saturday afternoon? And he laughed. And I said, yeah, that's what I thought. I said, I appreciate it, but no, I'm not going to do that.
Oh, good for
So,
you.
so other people will help you rationalize, and then you can rationalize, which is usually born out of this sense of, okay, I need to do this. And it's nearly always the second half of that is because everybody else is doing it. And that brings us into the why do you look at money the way you do, which is the whole interior finance side of this. Why do we make the money decisions that we make? And it's really hard. It's so true. You don't even think it's not true. So,
Yeah.
yeah, don't beat yourself up. Everybody rationalizes. I bought a pair of Halloween glittery sneakers just the other day because they were on sale.
Well, on sale. And see, there you go. And this is, again,
So
it's
I
very,
rationalized. Do I need those sneakers? Nope. Will I wear them? Yeah, I will. And they were half price and they will be fun. My big one is rationalizing book signing clothes.
oh,
I
interesting.
can rationalize anything if I'm going to a writer's event because, yeah, that's still kind of a novelty act for me. And
Yeah.
so I want to look good. And so, yeah, my worst rationalization is, oh, look, it glitters. I think I'll buy it for the next writer's event.
Oh, well, and the
We all
interesting
do
thing
it.
about the friend thing, true friend, when they know what your situation is not going to take, hey, it's on sale, or you should get that. You look really good. You look really good in that. You want to, with your friends. I remember this was years and years ago. I had a friend and I announced, I am not going to eat sugar anymore. And she went, oh, that's too bad. Here, have a hot fudge sundae. I fell right off, and down I went into the mud. And we want friends who are going to encourage us to stick with our goals. Our friends, and sometimes our friends think they're helping us because they see we want something, and they want us to have what we want. And then they get on the act and they encourage us to slide off the cliff. And so I think it's really important to make sure that you have, as you're dealing with some of these life decisions, to make sure that you're hanging out with people who are going to help you to make wise decisions and not encourage you to be irresponsible. Because there are some people, that's what they're going to do, because that's how they're wired.
You can have a good friend, but if you know that they're going to offer you a hot fudge sundae, just don't mention you're dieting.
That was because I was bragging. I was told.
I don't want to encourage people to break up friendships. I could make the argument that if they're a good friend, they're not going to try to do that. I honestly don't know that they know they're doing it. In fairness to them, I think there is this point of, well, I can't do it, and so she can't either.
Sometimes there is crab in the pot syndrome. Nobody gets out of this pot if I'm in it.
That's right.
And so we have to look at our not only our motives, but sometimes our friends' motives. Friends, and again, like I said, sometimes your friend, oh, you really want that, and they want to see us happy, and they maybe don't even realize how much we need to be behaving ourselves, and they'll say, oh, just buy it.
And sometimes that friend can be a spouse.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
and they don't mean badly. That's not it. They're not meaning to I mean, a few are, but most aren't. There are a few people who are just not nice people. But most of the time it's ill thought through.
Yeah. And sometimes the spouse, we come to the table with different ideas. We've been raised differently, different financial attitudes, and that can be hard to meld, and I think a lot of us here who are here right now, it's kind of like that, well, that horse has galloped out of the barn and 3 pastures down, because we're all married. But I think it is important when you're entering into a relationship to make sure you're in alignment on some of these things. How do we feel about debt? A couple of you have posted, I don't do credit cards and I only buy what I need, which is great. But if you're married to a spender who's like, woohoo, let's party on, then off you go over the cliff. So I think it's really important to.
And it's looking at why you're not spending, and it's them looking at why they are spending. And some of those are healthy and some of them are not. And so it's really that is the whole, and like I said, it's a whole interior finance. Why do you look at your money the way you do? When my client figured out that she spent money when she was upset with her boyfriend, I was like, why do you do that? And she was trying to fill that need that she wasn't getting from him. And sometimes your parents can raise you ways, or your minister or your priest or your rabbi or your imam can raise you in ways, and your friends can raise you in ways. There are entire communities that don't use banks, which just blows my mind, because that's so not my community, but they're not banked, and breaking that cycle is tough.
Yeah. And there's such a thing as scarcity brain, where, you didn't have a lot growing up. And oh my gosh, again, the FOMO. I had one friend that I remember, she would buy 3 of everything if it was on sale, because you never knew, and
or they don't buy anything.
Yeah, either way. And either way. Bad.
I see clients who have saved their whole careers, and then they're afraid to spend any money in retirement.
Yeah, for fear, because now it's too late, and oh my gosh, what will happen if?
Right.
And I have a feeling, I confess, I've had a few feelings like that, doing, oh my gosh, I can't retire till I have $3 million in the bank, because what will happen if I have to go to a nursing home? Well, that's just borrowing trouble. You do the best you can. We save. We do want to be saving and planning for the future, but we can't be so terrified of it that it causes us to be crippled or make bad bad decisions. But
Sure.
okay, let's move on. Oh shoot, I should address this so I don't forget. Cindy had wanted to know, what do you look for when you're trying to find a financial planner? Peggy, do you have any tips on that?
I do. So the best place to go for a list of questions is the Certified Financial Planner consumer website, which is let's make a plan.com or .org, and I don't remember which, but there will be a list of questions there. A few questions that I think you need to ask is, how are you paid? Everybody's paid, whether they take fees or commissions or however they're charging. You need to know how they're getting paid, and you need to know what kinds of activities will trigger how they get paid. And quite frankly, you need to know how much. Because if somebody's making a whole ton of money off of a specific investment, that's just information you need to know. You need to know what services they offer so that if you are looking for someone to help you figure out how much money you need to save to retire, you probably need a financial planner. If you need someone to help you get out of debt, you may need someone more in the not for profit world. If you're just wanting someone to invest your money, then you want a financial planner or maybe a broker. Again, you want to know how they're paid. You want to know what influences their decisions. But I've seen people get upset because they thought the person that they had hired was going to do X and they really only did Y. And then there's a whole lack of communication going on. Who you're working with should meet with you or visit with you on the phone or do a Zoom meeting at least once a year. You want to know what their credentials are. When I took my Series 65 exam to become an investment advisor, passed it, walked out of the testing center and thought, I am now qualified to take people's life savings, and I don't know bumpkus. And
Mm.
so that triggered my need to go learn more. So, if you want a planner, I'm a big proponent of the certified financial planner designation because just simply getting an investment advisory license is actually not nearly enough information. So, what certifications do they have? What they have to do to earn them? And then,
Mm.
so this is for my girlfriends out there. If you go with your spouse, does the person talk to you or do they talk to the man in the room?
Mm.
Because if they're just talking to the man in the room, you want to find somebody who will actually look at you and talk to you and treat you with the same amount of respect, even if in fact your spouse is the primary wage earner. So you don't want to be dismissed. You don't want to be not taken seriously. If you're creative, do they just kind of look down their nose at you? Because if they do, you need to find somebody who doesn't. There's a whole lot of they've got to respect you. They've got to value you as a client.
Good point. Yeah, that's so true. And again, you don't want to have happened to you, just to what happened with Peggy's mom. And for those of you who joined late, you'll have to go back and re-listen to that story because it was quite a cautionary tale. Well, let's go to our fourth financial Achilles heel, and this one I just find this interesting. The I have a dream. Yeah, well, so did Disney. One of my favorite quotes is, if you can dream it, you can do it. But sometimes dreams can turn into a nightmare. And I saw this actually happen with some friends. The husband had been very successful in a certain business area, but then he got this flea in his ear. I am going to now go be a tycoon in this whole new area I know nothing about. But I have this wonderful idea and I'm going to launch this business. And he started pouring money into the business, which, I know you have to invest in your business, but then it still wasn't quite happening. So now he's starting to drain their savings. And when she would question and say, I don't think we should do this, he would get all hurt. But don't you trust me? And I keep thinking, if I was her, I'd say, well, actually, no, I don't. Because you're out of your depth here, honey bunny, and you're draining our savings. And so it can be very hard, though, to let go of that big dream, that thing that you want to make happen. And I think it's really important to take baby steps toward that dream. You don't go into debt up to your eyeballs to become a, fill in the blank. But I need to be, Peggy's the expert here. So Peggy, what do you think on that?
Oh, no. You're absolutely right on all of it. And I always get really nervous when I read articles, and I've read multiple articles talking about, okay, so what happens if you're retirement age and you're not quite there? And one of the strategies that I've read in more than one article is, well, start a business. And when one out of every three small businesses fails within the first 3 years, and when there is even inexpensive businesses, there are fairly staggering sunk costs at the very beginning. I think that's really, really risky. I think that it's great to chase your dreams. I think if you have a dream and if it's not looking, they say you should always do a business plan. Business plans are incredibly depressing to do because there's always more bills than you have money at first. But I think you should do it. And I think
Mhm.
you should look at what actually is out there. And then maybe there's a version of that dream that you could do that would be just about as good as the dream itself. But so maybe you always wanted to move to the beach and open a seashell shop, and that's expensive. Beachfront property is expensive. Maybe what you do instead is you vacation in a place for an extended period for a few years and get a summer job at somebody who already has the business set up. Because even older people, there's a lot of older people who work in Hallmark stores, who work in these fun little gifty shops that you can see like on the shore. You should not do what I did. You should not say, I think I'll open a financial firm out of air. But I
Do
did
as I
work
say,
two
not as I do.
jobs for 3 years. So maybe I get a little bit of credit there. And my husband and I did really analyze the money closely before I quit the one job and went full time, because at first I wasn't making any money at all, right? Not any money at all. And so we had to make sure we could live on his salary. And he was good with that, which was truly lovely. But it's great to have dreams. In fact, DM Wealth Management, my firm, and that's not a plug for the firm, but I have to give the name of it. The DM stands for Dream Makers.
Oh, I love that. I think that's great. And again, we don't want to be, I love one of my favorite Dave Ramsey sayings. He's my other favorite finance guru right after Peggy. But he says, I'm not out to be a dream killer. I'm out to be a nightmare killer. And for those of you who have heard of him, he's the big get debt free and build wealth guy. But he got carried away with the credit, went bankrupt, almost ruined his whole life and his marriage. And he restarted, but he said he started his business on a card table in his living room. And his
Yeah.
big thing is you start small with what you can afford. Don't go deeply into debt. You start
And
baby
do the
steps.
work yourself. Do not outsource the work.
Yeah.
You are not too good to do anything in what you're trying to make happen.
Yeah, yeah. And those of us who want to be writers, again, we have these visions of, I'm going to be a millionaire, I'm going to sell that book contract and it'd be wonderful. And well, then the saying, don't quit your day job. That is such a true saying. It takes years to be able to make a living as an author, and some never even quite get there. And so, again, this is not to kill anybody's dreams. If you are an artist and you want to do silk, patterns on silk, I forget what that, silk screening, or you want to sell charms on Etsy, whatever you want to do, by all means, we don't want to discourage you from doing it, but make sure that with your dream, you've set some kind of a budget. And I think it's also important to have an exit plan. We have the time. There is a date. If this does not happen, we are going to pull this thing off life support so that it doesn't drag you down, and that can be very hard to do. But sometimes there comes a point when you have to say, this particular business is probably not for me.
And don't quit your day job.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
whole
don't quit your day
idea of
job.
only working 40 hours a week, if you're trying to get something random off the ground, you're going to work much closer to 60 to 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
And that way you're still paying your bills because you haven't quit your job. And you just side hustle at night and on the weekends and maybe get up early too.
Yeah, so go ahead. You do have our permission to chase your dreams, guys. Part of my goal for our various January and February chats are to encourage us to all, go after those things we've been wanting to do. Don't just sit there and go, gee, I wish I had. Go out and make an effort, but we do want you to do it wisely so that you don't
Right.
end up miserable later and go, why did I do that? It's very important. And so let's move on just to final bits of some advice here. So as we're setting things up, our goals for the new year, and of course, it's all about prioritizing. And I know, Peggy, I'm going to let you do, what are the basics we prioritize before we go into the things we'd like to do? Give us our basics.
So, what you really need to do is look at your spending every month and look at those. And literally, by look at your spending, I mean in some form or fashion, write down every single dime you spent. And then look at those things that you need, like your mortgage or your rent, your car payment, your utilities, probably your cell phone bill. You can tell the things you have to keep the lights on, and then you look at everything else. So you've got to prioritize and make sure that you've got all those bills paid.
Yeah.
You also need to have an emergency fund. And I know that, some of the bigger financial gurus will say you need 6 or 9 months of your bills and savings. And that sounds super nifty if you've got lots of cash. And if you don't, I want you to save 2 weeks of your bills. So figure out those bills you have to have. And then I want you to save 2 weeks of it because that's not an overwhelming amount of money. And then once you have that, then you save 2 more weeks and you save 2 more weeks and you save 2 more weeks. But you don't look at it, because if I tell you to save 6 months and you don't have anything in savings, what you'll do is you'll close my book or you'll turn off my audiobook and you'll think that I'm silly and it won't inspire you. You'll just quit listening to me. So, what I want you to do is build something you can actually do. And that emergency fund might be saving $20 or $25 a month. And then if you get a raise, so here's where I'm more fun than some people. I want you to save half of it and then you can spend the other half because you've worked hard, you deserve a little bit of a break. But if you'll just honestly save half of any found money, you'll start getting that emergency fund together. Take advantage of your company retirement plan, at least as far as the match. Probably won't be enough if you just match, because you'll probably need more than 6% of your salary, even though it compounds. But so it's knowing what you spend, so you know that you have enough money, so that you know what your emergency fund is, and then you start saving for retirement. Those are my big three. And tied to that, when you're setting a goal, I want you to set a reasonable goal. Remember, this is a lifestyle change, not a crash diet. So if you realize, oh goodness, I need to do something, I want that goal measurable. So I don't want you to say, I want to save more money. I want you to say, I'm going to save X number of dollars a month. And then I want you to look at your finances and I want you to decide what X can be. So, if you can save $25 a month, that's going to be, what is that going to be? That's going to be $400,
Yeah.
$300 in a year.
There's our
It's going to be
finances
something.
imagine.
It's going to be $300 in the year. That's a whole lot of money. That would buy you a tire. That would, and then as things get a little bit easier, maybe you can save a little bit more. Got to be measurable. Your New Year's resolution can't be, I want to save money. I want to be rich. I
Yeah.
want to be able to retire. You got to have numbers and dates attached to all of them. That's why I'm the buzzkill. You actually have to have a little math in that to work.
But that's what makes it happen. You're harnessing these dollars to make them work for you. And once you've got your basics covered, you need, okay, food, shelter, your utilities, transportation, clothing, most of us have enough of that. And if you don't, that's what thrift stores and 50% off sales are for, so, but those basic things. And then I remember the big saying one of our friends always has, like, pay yourself first. So if you don't do that, and I add to that, because we happen to be, as people often say, people of the book. And so we believe that it's very important to be generous with our money also. So a tithe. So when we get paid, it's tithes and taxes. Uncle Sam is such a greedy little uncle, but he wants to be paid. So all that goes off the top, and then a little bit in savings. And then after that, okay, now let's line the rest of the soldiers up here and make sure that we've got it all taken care of. But once you have that, you'd be surprised. Sometimes there really is money left over you can save for something fun that you want to do.
That's
Listen,
right.
Nancy says, I'm dumb when it comes to this stuff. I get frustrated trying to figure this out. So Nancy, I would suggest trying maybe a budgeting app, or even, like I said, get one of Peggy's books, because they are reader friendly. And then you won't feel so overwhelmed. But it's the old saying of how do you consume an elephant? It's like one bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
And it can be very overwhelming when you're like, oh, this one, I don't know what to do with it. But if you do your top priorities first, so I got to pay my rent or my house payment. I have to pay, well, I think I'll pay for groceries, and I have to have money for the utilities, and I have to, have the taxes taken out. And then if you do those things first, then you can kind of see what's left over. And okay, now I can spend this on, and then you can start thinking of other things that you can spend money on. And we've got a very detailed, Gerhardt does the main budgeting on our, I really am a throwback to the 50s. I told Peggy, if he goes first, I'm going to be on your doorstep crying and saying, help me! Because I'm just like, Lucy does finance. I'm just like, but even with me on my small scale, I have my household budget and I have my grocery budget, and I write down every single thing at the top. Here's what I can spend this week. And then I note every little thing that I've spent, and I watch to see if I'm staying in my little column. And if I can do it, because you guys, math is not my thing. So I'm figuring if I can do it, you can do it. It's just kind of keep track, make a note, keep track, make a note.
Well, and everything I write is 52, because nobody wants to do this. It was Nancy who said she was overwhelmed, right? Yeah, Nancy, nobody wants to do it. Everybody's overwhelmed. That's the big secret about money. Nobody feels like they know what they're doing. And so 52 is so you can read one book, one chapter a week. And then I do little exercises at the end. And I'm not plugging my books, because
well, you need to, because it's a good book. Yeah,
well, but there's other things out there, but it breaks all of this stuff into little bite-sized pieces, so it isn't overwhelming. Each of the chapters is like 3 or 4 pages long. Literally, they're short, and they're short on purpose. There's lots you could talk about, but break it into little bitty bites, Nancy, so it doesn't get overwhelming. You can do it. It's just, maybe what you want to do is take 1 hour a week, just 1 hour, and work on your money for 1 hour. Because what I suspect is, right now, I bet you're not, because we don't do what we're afraid of. That's my Achilles tendon. If I'm afraid of something, I don't do it.
Just procrastinate.
I just procrastinate all day long. 1 hour a week, and just look at it, and don't be afraid of it, because you can get a hold of it. I promise.
Well, and maybe get a budget buddy too. Get somebody, a close family member, a friend, or somebody at your church who's good with money, or in the neighborhood, and just have them sit down and kind of help you go through it, because it can take a while for this to sink in, and I think we should never feel embarrassed because this is not our wheelhouse, because we're all wired differently, and some of us are money people and numbers people, and some of us aren't. But if you aren't, it's always like, if this is not your strength, you find someone who it is their strength, and you get them to help you. It's like, I'm going to go and have my coach at the gym, and this is the finance version of that. I've got my coach helping me get those muscles stronger, so that money isn't a scary thing, So I think that's important. And again, theoretically, and I will, by the way, you guys, I think we're going to be approaching the deadline for being able to get space on this readers cruise that Peggy and I are doing in 2027. We're going up the East Coast and up to Quebec, and it's going to be fun. I'm not sure if the colors will have changed by then, but we're going to have fun. But that thing, I am not paying for that in one big lump. I am taking little teeny bits of money
That's
out of
right.
my household.
I
Oops,
was
here's
looking at it
$25 for
today,
this.
figuring out how
Ready for the
much am I
kids.
gonna need to pay every month to pay.
Yeah. I'm just taking little teeny bits. And sometimes if you've got a big project like that, or if you've got a vacation you want to take, or again, that dream you want to do, the time to save for it is now, and you save in little bitty baby bites. And then eventually you have eaten the whole big pie and you're ready to do whatever it is you want to do. So just remember that with your goals, you don't have to do the whole thing instantly right now. You can save in little pieces to get there. So just keep that in mind as we're
Yeah, and
going
you can
into
pay
the
off
new year.
debt the same way.
Yeah. Same with debt. You do it one thing at a time.
One thing, either choose the little bitty debts that are making you crazy
Yeah.
or the slightly financially better way of the highest interest rate. But what you want to do is just do it. Just little bitty bites and keep doing it.
And every little bit of success will get you excited to keep carrying forward.
That's right.
And you're going to be so darn proud of yourself. So let's plan. We're going to make some good financial decisions this year, you guys. If you need help, get your finance buddy in order, and feel free to, I should probably try and do a check-in every once in a while. How I go try and do that throughout the year and go, hey guys, how are we doing with our goals? And I'm sure Peggy will come back and join us at some point for a health checkup
Happy
to make sure we're
it.
doing well. But thank you all for who have hung in here all this time with us. We are going to be drawing names to win. One of you will be winning a copy of Peggy's fabulous new book, Finances for Those of Us Who Are Creative. And somebody else will be winning. Oh, there's the copy of it. Oh, that's so fun. And again, you can get it on audio too on Spotify. And then I will also be sending out a copy of my book for somebody who is our lucky winner. So thanks, you guys. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you're inspired and ready to get out there and just go for it. Make the dreams come true and set those goals. And let's figure that we're going to have a really, really fabulous year. And as soon as I can figure out how to, there we go. We're going to say, first of all, bye to our Instagram people. Thank you guys for joining us. I hope you found this helpful. So we're saying bye to them. And then again, Facebook gang, thanks for joining us. Oh, yeah, crud, I should have mentioned that to the Insta people. We are going to be switching to Monday evenings now. And so next week, I will be talking, I'm pretty sure we've got that set and cement now, talking with my friend Debbie Maycumber. We'll be talking about time management, which will be very cool. So change your calendars now. We'll be working this on Mondays. So happy New Year, everybody. And we'll see you hopefully in another week or so.
Bye.